Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of my podcast. And I just want to take a second to thank all of you who've subscribed, who've listened, who've given me great feedback, especially all of you who left amazing reviews. It really means the world to me. I always love to hear from you. So once again, you can reach out to me via my contact page at demetriaobilor.com. But yeah, let's kick things off with sports for sure. And what happened at the FIBA World Cup earlier this week was not good. FIBA World Cup is the Basketball World Cup, FYI, and it's not as big of a deal as the Olympics or, of course, the NBA championship. But Team USA went home medalist, losing the bronze to Canada in overtime. Canada? The Canada that hasn't won a World Cup medal in 87 years? Hey, that Canada. Team USA, our people, failed to medal during the last cup, so now we're dealing with back-to-back disappointment. So the fast and easy answer is, oh yeah, well, of course, we're not sending our best guys. Paolo and Brandon Ingram were injured. But hello, you still got Anthony Edwards, Austin Reeves, Mikal Bridges. These guys aren't scrubs. Steve Kerr coaching, but it's still not enough. And that's not a good look. Especially after what USA Track and Field's Noah NBA Lyles said about the NBA calling themselves global champions. I covered it last week, and so we had to circle back, and this loss from Team USA adds a little oomph to his argument. Let me know what you think. Because the whole idea about Team USA is that we're so good, we can send a team full of sixth men and still be victorious, but that's not happening on the World Cup stage, and that could be part of the reason why LeBron's seen enough. The big news this week from the King was that he was going to assemble his version of the Dream Team, reportedly lobbying KD, AD, Steph Curry, Jason Tatum to committing to the Olympics next year. Some people think it's also kind of, a last dance situation, since this could be the last Olympics LeBron plays in before retirement. But I really love how this guy on Twitter put it, Trayvon Edwards. He said, or tweeted, I love how LeBron is getting the credit for this. Like he leaned up in his seat, I gotta do something about it, and grabbed the red phone for an emergency to assemble the Avengers. But let's be clear, okay? The USA remains the dominant force in the Olympics basketball, holding 16 out of 19 possible gold medals and have won the past 4 years. In my humble opinion, I don't expect it to change next year. But we got to start turning our attention to the World Cup. We don't want to let any other country have any type of bragging rights over our basketball. All right, now prime time. You talk big, you got to back it up. And that's what's happening at Colorado right now. It's all anyone can really talk about in the sports world, but you can still hear the haters up there in the bleachers. And from what I've gathered online, these are the two biggest gripes people have. Here's the first one. College football fans are critiquing the way Coach Prime shaped his team, with the roster purge, calling his use of the transfer portal excessive, unfair, and not true to what collegiate football is all about. What about the kids? The Michael Jordan meme just comes to mind, honestly. But seriously, thank goodness for NIL, but I don't know what college football used to be about, but today's game is a multi-billion-dollar business. Big B's, baby. Are you entertained? In my best gladiator voice, are you entertained? That's the game. But seriously, for those crying about Coach Deion Sanders' use of the portal as a cheat code, I just gotta ask, where was all this energy for ASU's new head coach Kenny Dillingham? He snatched up 30 to 31 recruits, all from D1 schools. Hell, he had to do something. ASU, they weren't really even contenders last year, finishing the season 3-9, the third worst team in the Pac-12, followed by Stanford, and oh, hello, who next? Colorado, who went 1-11 last year. According to ESPN, Colorado lost games by an average 29.1 points last season, the worst in the country, and the fourth worst among Power 5 programs in the past 30 years. So, yeah. Coach Prime had to take things up a notch. 53 transfers, total of 86 new players from high school and beyond, those numbers from ESPN. And it's big business, right? And so far, things are looking up for Colorado. That being said, it's only week 3, and yeah, the Rocky Mountain Showdown is up next, but I got my eyes on week 4 and week 5, when the Buffs go up against Oregon and then USC. Buffs win those, then it's Coach Prime's world, and we're just living in it. The second gripe is the classic personality argument. Take a scroll down Reddit, wherever. You'll see fans, keyboard bandits calling him braggadocious, He's just loud. Probably a bunch of disgruntled Eagles fans. They just can't get that 95 season out of their mind. Deion Sanders' infamous draft day pick probably lives in their head rent-free. Seriously, they probably wake up every morning like, I just really hate that guy. And I'm not going to get into this too deep because it's silly. Because every coach has a different personality. Get over it. Not everyone is Bill Belichick and looks like he hates to win. That Family Guy episode comes to mind. You guys remember that? Anyway, enough sports, okay? We unclench our jaws and forget about how much we lost on FanDuel this weekend. And let's talk about how the world is turning into Minority Report. Do you remember that movie? Love it. Tom Cruise. So we all know that when we Google a product or something, we start seeing those ads from it on our Facebook, Instagram, random sites. But you ever get those ads for things you never even searched? My mom, one day, we were talking about cold season, and I never typed in anything about the cold, the flu, any of that on my phone. Next thing you know, I see an ad for some cough medicine on Instagram, and I'm like, what the hell? I mean, I see ads from clothing stores I've never even looked at, don't even know what they are, but they're stores that my mom shops at. So they're just collating data. Just another observation that our phones, devices are listening to us. All my conspiracy theories out there. But my Alexa, is always randomly turning on. Siri gets activated when I haven't even said a word even close to sounding like Siri. So you can see how our data privacy is constantly being shared by third parties, whether we full-heartedly agreed to it or unwittingly complied with those terms and conditions no one reads. Our data is the new form of currency. It's the new oil. I'm sure you've heard this. Privacy is more important now than ever, and our government hardly scratches the surface when it comes to protecting us. Unlike the European Union, for example, that staunchly enforces General Data Protection Regulation, you should get really familiar with this term, GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. It's a law designed to protect the personal information of European Union citizens and residents against companies all across the world, including ones here. The biggies, Google, Amazon, Meta. And Europe's not playing when it comes to theirs. Break one of their laws, and a company could be fined up to 10 million euros or 2% of the firm's worldwide annual revenue, whichever is higher. And that's for the lesser infringements. Break a biggie, and a company could be fined up to 20 million euros or 4% of the firm's worldwide revenue from the next year, whichever is higher. And to put this in perspective, Meta, aka Facebook, made $116 billion last year. If they broke a big law, the EU could fine them for $4.6 billion. Definitely an incentive to be more careful with people's information. But unfortunately for us Americans, only 3 states have comprehensive data privacy laws, according to the New York Times. Those are California, Colorado, and Virginia. Shout out to you if you live in any of those places. But some critics say the laws there don't even go far enough. And it's a slow start considering you have companies like X, formerly known as Twitter, who made the news when they announced they would begin collecting biometric data from its verified users. CNN says that X would allow premium users to provide a government ID and selfie image for verification purposes. Biometric data. It can include fingerprints, iris patterns, really reminiscent of the movie Minority Report. I guess the future's finally here. Have you seen that movie? Seriously, I love that movie. But best case scenario, it could make it harder for people to pretend to be you. Worst case scenario, data breaches, which happen like every day now. Just this week, MGM in Vegas was essentially held at cyber gunpoint by what some outlets reported to be a ransomware attack that affected ATMs, elevators, slot play, room keys. Tesla just had a breach affecting 75,000 people earlier this year. Those of you who are Marriott Bonvoy members, I'm just a lonely, silver member or whatever like that. But everybody remembers the data breach that affected up to 500 million guests, not to mention Twitter's data leak of 200 million email addresses at the start of the year. Facebook, they had a breach affecting over 530 million accounts and never told a soul about it. So now they're settling a class action lawsuit, and I just missed out on my cash payment. But here's the point. If major corporations can't even keep things like our email, credit card numbers, and janky passwords safe, why in the hell should we be trusting them with our most precious, unalterable data like our fingerprints, iris patterns, voice recognition, DNA. Because we can change a password. We can get a new credit card, but you can't change your DNA. What's the two-step verification for someone hacking your fingerprints? But, I guess you can change your irises now. If you go to Turkey, now that's really a real thing. Dude, we really are living in Minority Report, and that is not an ad for the movie. I'm telling you. Don't you guys remember Tom Cruise? He had to get his eyeballs changed when he was on the run. You really got to see it if you haven't. It's just something for you to chew on, just something that's been on my mind a lot as we continue to share all of our information. I'm going to do a lot of tech pieces in the future, so I really hope you guys are prepared for that. I have a lot of thoughts on the booming industry, artificial intelligence, aliens, etc., but always coming from an informed standpoint. I'm not going to get on here and just promote random stuff. I got receipts for everything that I say. Now, before I close out for the day, something a little personal, and it's something that I think we all deal with. Isn't it really weird how comfortable people are insulting random strangers on the internet? I mean, they will literally just keep commenting, saying the nastiest things. And it's like, who is this guy? I don't even know who this person is. I mean, the lengths people will go to debase another person. And if you're familiar with my career, I mean, you know that I've been subject to ridicule because of my natural curly hair, body shape, etc., clothes I wear. Now, some of the craziest things I've heard outside of threats of sexual violence and death, I mean, have probably come from people who were once adoring fans that eventually turned into hate-spewing bots. Now, I got a pretty thick skin. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. On my block, we roasted people like the rent was due. Okay, so it doesn't bother me that much. But it's also probably because one of the books I would read over and over again as a child, Aesop's Fables, a collection of parables, and one that I always loved as a kid was The Fox and the Sour Grapes. Now, back then, I probably loved that particular story because I love grapes, and for some reason, I just love looking at pictures of food. I'd always run to the section of Toys R Us where they'd keep the Easy Bake Oven, the play food sets. I loved the one with like 100 pieces, the tea set, the pizza, the vegetables. Was I the only one? I don't know. And now I, as an adult, love to get on Yelp and check out the menu and the images before I get to the restaurant so I know what I want. But anywho, The Fox and the Sour Grapes. The story has always had a special place in my heart, now more than ever. I'm going to tie it in with the comments and the insults, so bear with me, okay? I'm going to share a little bit of the story with you. The story is about a fox who sees the most tantalizing, juicy, perfectly ripe bunch of grapes hanging from a tree. But the branch was very high up, so the fox jumped and couldn't reach it. He tried again and failed. And when the fox finally gave up, he said, "The grapes are probably sour anyway." Moral of the story, some people find excuses for disappointment. They pretend to despise what's beyond their reach or what they feel is. Someone doesn't like their job, for example, and they see someone with a better one. That might manifest as, wonder what they had to do to get it. Or maybe they see a dude with a ripped body and they say, he's probably on steroids. Or they feel like someone's out of their league, so they call that person names. I think a lot of single women deal with this one. It goes, oh wow, she's so beautiful, but she's single, so something must be wrong with her. And that makes some people feel better about themselves. I see a lot of nasty things across social media these days, and I see some of you battling it out in my comment sections and anything that's trending, polarizing. And, if you are the recipient of such negativity, I would just urge you to remember this fable, this story. It's always helped guide me because it reminds you that there's nothing wrong with you, you sexy bunch of grapes. It's just someone else who's a bit disappointed in themselves. So just be yourself, be you, be the best version of you, and don't let the haters get you down. And thank you so much for listening to this second episode of my show. Feel free to reach out to me with comments, concerns, questions, topic suggestions, any of that good stuff. It's on my contact page, once again, on my website, demetriaobilor.com. Until then, have an amazing week and don't do anything that I wouldn't do.